Today, we cover a crime that was so reckless and so unnecessary it left behind more questions than answers, and even years later, many in the community still wonder what was the logic behind it. Welcome to MN Crime Tales, where we cover the most shocking, mysterious, and jaw-dropping crimes in Minnesota. We need you to smash the subscribe button. And you already know to like, share, and comment on the video, as we always love hearing your opinions on these cases. Now let's get into the story. Brooklyn Center, Minnesota is a Minnesota suburb that starts along the northwest border of North Minneapolis. The city is also right next door to Brooklyn Park, and just like any other city, it has its own share of crime and violence. But in the winter of 2019, Brooklyn Center investigators were reminded of the extreme levels that some people will go in situations without using any real logic. It was December 11th, 2019, and in Brooklyn Center, it seemed like another normal day. It was cold outside, snow covering the ground, along with many people anticipating the upcoming Christmas holiday at the time. But as the day would carry on, an adult woman that we will call Witness 1 had arranged for someone to sell an ounce of weed for $300. But the deal was also being coordinated through someone else that we will call Witness 2. Witness 2 connected Witness 1 to the person that was supposed to be the buyer, and as the story unfolds you will see just how the supposed buyer became a defendant. Eventually the meeting was set in place and arranged. They decided and agreed that the Pump and Munch gas station that sits on the corner of 69th and Humboldt and Brooklyn Center would be the meeting spot for the transaction. Just after 9:10 p.m. that night, Witness 1 and the man with the weed pulled into the gas station and waited for the buyer to arrive. The middleman wasn't involved in this part. The buyer, Giovanni Williams, made it seem like this was nothing more than a simple exchange when he spoke with Witness 1 about buying the weed earlier in the day, like it was just a casual pickup. But this wasn't a casual meet. And it wasn't going to end that way. Shortly after Witness 1 and the victim pulled into the Pump in Munch, Giovanni Williams, also known as Oso, arrived at the gas station as the front passenger in a Chrysler 200. The car reversed into a parking space directly beside the vehicle Witness 1 and the man selling the marijuana were sitting in. According to court documents, Giovanni Williams, known on the street as Oso, stepped out of the Chrysler 200 and made his way over without hesitation. He opened the door and slid into the back seat of the vehicle where Witness 1 and the man selling the weed were sitting, placing himself directly in the sequence of what was supposed to be a routine exchange. According to reports, the seller began talking about the weed to Giovanni. Giovanni had asked to see the ounce for himself. He wanted to smell it before buying. Once the weed was in his hand, the tone changed. Reports say Giovanni looked up and said, "You know what this is." In that moment, he made his choice. He raised a gun, pointed it at the seller's head, and fired a single shot into the back of his head. Giovanni stepped out of the vehicle with the ounce of weed, and not an ounce of remorse. He climbed back into the Chrysler 200. The driver pulled away, both him and Giovanni disappearing into the cold winter night, leaving behind a brutal and horrific scene that would soon be marked by police lights and death. The female, Witness 1, called the police, and when they arrived they could clearly see that the victim was shot in the head. They found him in the passenger side of the vehicle. Officers and on-scene paramedics tried to give life-saving efforts to him, but were unsuccessful, and the victim, 45-year-old Datrias Markiel Stewart, died at the scene. Police saw a handgun on the ground just a few feet from the vehicle. Police also saw another handgun on the floor passenger board where Datrias was sitting. While at the scene, officers learned from Witness 2 that Stewart was her boyfriend and he was shot by a person she knew named Giovanni. She also let the officers know that she had arranged for her boyfriend to sell the ounce to Giovanni through someone else earlier in the day. The female Witness 1 told officers that Datrias was shot in the head during a drug robbery and that she heard 2 shots. She told them she thought one of the shots came from her boyfriend in self-defense. Investigators would go on to hunt down the owner of the black Chrysler 200 involved in the incident. That led detectives to Derek Williams, the man that had drove Giovanni to the Pump and Munch the night of the murder. In a post-Miranda interview, Derek Williams told investigators he drove Giovanni to the Pump in Munch that night. He said that after parking the Chrysler, Giovanni Williams stepped out and got into another vehicle. Moments later, he said that he heard a gunshot and that Giovanni returned to the car carrying a bag of weed. Derek told investigators he drove away from the gas station with Giovanni Williams still in the car. During the drive, he said he repeatedly asked Giovanni if he had shot someone. He told investigators Giovanni said no each time, claiming instead that someone had fired at him. Giovanni then asked to be dropped off at a house in Brooklyn Park. Derek refused. He continued driving into Minneapolis, where Giovanni was later picked up by another individual. Keep in mind investigators had previously already spoke with Witness 2. If you remember, Witness 2 is the person that connected the seller's girlfriend with Giovanni for the transaction. Witness 2 told investigators they in no way were aware that Giovanni had planned to rob or kill anyone when they connected him to make a purchase. In his first post-Miranda interview, Derek Williams claimed he didn't know Giovanni Williams brought a gun that night, though he admitted he knew about the weapon and that he himself had handled it before in the past. Investigators later noted his DNA could be on it. Later in a second post-Miranda interview, Derek Williams told investigators that he knew Giovanni was going to rob the victim when he drove him to the pump in Munch. Yet he still denied knowing Giovanni brought the gun. He also told investigators he didn't take Giovanni serious about the victim shooting at Giovanni because he only heard one shot. Derek Williams was taken into custody and charged with 1 count of aiding an offender and 1 count of aggravated first-degree robbery. But Giovanni Williams had already been in custody by December 17th, just 6 days after the murder. But on December 16th, 2019, Giovanni Williams, aka Oso, was charged with second-degree murder. As the case started the court process, him and his team made a motion to remove the current judge from the case and that they wanted a new judge assigned to the case. His motion was granted, and a new judge was given the case. However, as the state built more evidence in the case, on January 16, 2020, the state of Minnesota indicted him with first-degree premeditated murder on top of the second-degree murder charge. This meant he was now looking at the possibility of life in prison if found guilty based on Minnesota sentencing guidelines. By the time that March of 2020 came along, his co-defendant Derek Williams had worked out his own deal where he further admitted his role, and that also meant him being willing to help in Giovanni's part. The state of Minnesota had brought forth evidence to the court that shown multiple messages exposing him and Derek setting up the Brooklyn Center robbery, as well as gritty details to a violent 2017 drug-related robbery that Giovanni was a part of in Moorhead, Minnesota. The incident in Moorhead, Minnesota exposed a situation where Giovanni Williams and other individuals robbed a known heroin dealer with a shotgun and a pellet gun. The Facebook messages exposed communication between Derek and Giovanni the day of the murder that included how Derek said he needed a come-up and how he needed stains. He admitted stains were a word he used for possible robberies. According to the court records, Giovanni Williams said he was scared when he saw Stewart pull out a gun, and that fear prompted him to shoot. However, there's no evidence Stewart fired his weapon before he was shot. Between his co-defendants' full cooperation, the Facebook communications, along with other evidence and facing life in prison on the first-degree murder charge, Giovanni decided to go with a plea agreement. The plea agreement took the first-degree murder charge off the table. Derek Williams ended up getting sentenced to 12.8 years for 2 counts of aiding an offender and 1 count of first-degree aggravated robbery. He served just around 5 years and was released in December 2025 but is still on supervised release. With his plea agreement, Giovanni Williams ended up getting convicted on 2 counts of second-degree murder without intent. He was sentenced to 20 years in state prison with the normal Minnesota requirement of serving 2/3 of your time before release. May the story of Giovanni Williams, aka Oso, be an example of why it's not worth it to rob anyone and why it's better to stay legit. It's crazy how he traded years of his life for an ounce of weed. And it changed so many lives from that choice. Hopefully the time he is spending behind bars gives him a different perspective on how to go about things by the time he is released from state prison. Now, if you made it this far, then we definitely ask that you expeditiously smash the subscribe button. Also, don't forget, go ahead and like this video. Also share and comment your thoughts. We always love hearing your feedback on these cases. Make sure you stay in the loop with us. Oh yeah, episode 6 is coming on the way.